the Bowels of Netflix, where your fearless co-hosts Isaac and Larry force each other to watch the worst pieces of shit on Netflix. We will go over every bad edit, all the broken dialogue, all the wooden acting, and laugh along the way, because this is the Bowels of Netflix! All right, and welcome to the Bowels of Netflix. I'm Isaac, and with me, as always, is my fearless co-host, Larry. How are you doing this week, Larry?
Do you like having your titties twisted?
I've never been down that road.
Yeah, me either. I don't think I'd like it.
Do you want me to twist your titties?
No.
Is that what you're saying? That's what you're saying?
No. We're going to be talking about Michael Tiddes today, so I'm just going to go right into Titty Talk. Titty Talk, which is, it's a spin-off of Car Talk.
I would listen to a podcast with you just discussing titties.
I mean, I don't have like a review of titties. I don't know. I mean, I feel like it'd be, I don't know, I could do it in 2 episodes maybe. It'd be a stretch by the second episode. There's
only so much you can say about titties.
Right.
Although you can endlessly motorboat them.
I mean, would you listen to a podcast that just every week is just a different recording of like 30 minutes of a man motorboating titties? Or a woman motorboating titties? It's someone motorboating titties.
It might be like white noise to go to sleep to.
That actually sounds hilarious. Just that for hours.
A 10-hour video on YouTube.
It's funny you mention that because my girlfriend was mentioning how she's been reading up about how sounds can affect your dreams, apparently. Because she listens to, nature sounds to sleep. Which I used to listen to that too. I like to listen to a train sound, actually, which weirdly helps me sleep very well. I mean, I still sleep like shit, but it helps me a lot more than anything else does. But she was mentioning how she was having a lot of bad dreams about bugs because she was listening to nature sounds, and she's looking into the science of that. So if I'm listening to motorboat sounds while I sleep, am I going to have titty dreams?
You might.
I may have to try this.
Titty Dreams is a good name for the podcast. Oh boy. I have a little laryngitis because I was down at the train station because I needed money to buy corn, so I sucked a bunch of dicks. I was gonna think of something, and then I thought of corn.
Yeah, I feel like you were scrambling for a second word. Can I offer corn pone?
Oh god. So yeah, you might hear me piffing and coughing and all that fun stuff. But we will do our best to get through it as always because we are consummate professionals.
Yes, we've both been collectively between us dying in various stages of up and down between us for the last fucking month. I swear to God. And
neither of us have COVID, surprisingly.
No, right. I am now relocated to the Noodle Factory V2. So also this is our first recording in my new studio. He said, pretending that he lives a far more glamorous life than he actually does.
Your servant is at the door with a hot tea for you.
No, there's no one.
Oh god,
it's just a sack of despair.
We, the enterprise bowels of Netflix that we are, a multinational conglomerate, we're 2 friends who hate each other, make each other watch terrible movies, and you get to hear the details described back. Find us on Facebook, find us on Twitter, Bowels of Netflix. It's the only one in your life. Do the email? Do the email, bowelsofnetflix@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you, and rate, subscribe, slap your grandmother around, tell her to listen to this podcast. Don't even hit her with a wet fish. Just give her a wet fish.
Mm-hmm. It's like the equivalent of like a horse's head in your bed. Just give her a fish.
We think too much alike.
We do.
That's disgusting. So, Larry, what are you covering this week?
It's a Wayans movie. It's a Wayans Tiddes production.
Good old Marlon's back in action.
The more I look at the name Michael Tiddes, the more I think it's actually like Michael Tiddes, because it's Tiddes.
No, it's not.
I feel like Tiddes would have IES. The long and short of it is, I hate the man. I hate hate him. I wish him nothing but unhappiness and misfortune. It's spooky season. And Isaac got the memo and I didn't, which is why Isaac's next movie is going to be fucking My Little Pony. But I got a Haunted House 2. This is I hope you're ready, folks, because this one is something. It's going to be. I know. I say this sometimes. I usually shoot my shot and then I'm wrong, but I'm pretty confident that this is going to be one of my shorter episodes because you'll see very quickly why. But yeah, A Haunted House 2, starring Marlon Wayans and written by Marlon Wayans and a man named Rick Alvarez, who also has written some of these other movies. I think he was. I think he also wrote on Naked and Sextuplets. But I'm not fucking giving him any. Fuck him. Fuck all of them. I don't hope they all die, but like, I hope they get like really bad diarrhea that just will not go away. I don't want to wish death on anybody, but uncomfort, yes. Misfortune, sure. I hope they invest in companies that fail miserably. I hope their homes dry rot and they have to move into smaller lodgings. I hope their cars stink of clams forever. Clams. I hope they have like a clam bake and somebody throws like a trash bag full of clamshells in the trunk and forgets about it for weeks, and their cars just all reek of clams. Just fucking like a wretched stink, a cloud of stink that's almost visible to the human eye. I hate all of these men. I hate them.
And if people don't remember, I've now been in the same room as Marlon Wayans.
You have.
Yes, we Eiffel Tower John Goodman together.
Can you? I'm sure John Goodman does not. I don't think John Goodman would be against an Eiffel Tower, but I don't think he would be the middle. I think he would. He'd prefer to be one of the. I want to say spokes, which I don't think is right, but I love the word spokes, and I wanted to get a chance to use it. So yeah, but anyway, the two people that I'm primarily against here are Marlon Wayans, who is the writer and star, and of course, fucking longtime friend of the show, as his movies are frequently featured, and the director Michael Tiddes, who has also directed Sextuplets and Naked and this, among a few other things. We'll be bringing him up. For some reason, he's the one I focused in on. Because, like I've mentioned in the past, I have a tiny bit of respect for Marlon Wayans. We'll get into that in the interview. Anyway, Haunted House 2, fucking Rotten Tomatoes is a piece of shit that doesn't work if it's not fully maximized. Haunted House 2 on Rotten Tomatoes has an 8% on the tomato meter.
Ooh.
So, pretty low, as a lot of Marlon Wayans stuff is. I believe that Naked was a 0. If memory serves. One of his movies, Naked or Sextuplets, was a 0. I want to say Naked, because Naked, if you recall, which is another...
Yeah, it's just a better version of Groundhog's Day.
No, Naked was one of the angriest I've ever gotten at a movie. It's unfortunate, because you listen back to that episode, we had a lot of audio trouble, and like it's not synced up, so it's kind of hard to listen to, which it was pretty early on, we were still getting our feet wet, and we were still trying to figure everything out, but that made me enraged for the logic of that movie and how it worked.
I remember you had bullet points.
There was lists, there was a whole thing. That was one of my more memorable movies of how I really hated it. This movie is infinitely worse.
Oh God.
Infinitely worse. We'll get to it, though. But yeah, so 8% on the tomato meter. The audience score is a 43%. The world is just a wrong, bad place that needs to be destroyed.
There's a subset of Marlon Wayans fans who will always watch and enjoy his movies.
Yeah, and IMDb, it has a 4.7 out of 10, so tiny bit lower than normal, but it's still hovering near the average. It's the IMDb special, pretty much. So, and I think you're right, that just contributes to his there's a subset of his fans that just exist, and I don't like them. I don't like them as people. I think they're bad people who need to be investigated. Weird thing about this movie, I remember like this series existing. This came out in 2014, and when I was watching it, it seems like it should have come out in 2001.
Oh wow!
But we'll get to that. We'll get to that pretty early on in it, but we have a lot to talk about. Well, we have a lot to talk about in the beginning, and then it's just kind of gonna meander and end. So
that sounds like a haunted comedy movie. Doesn't have a whole lot of meaningful plot.
Yeah, and I don't think that I really wrote this particular part down, but the whole conceit of this movie, it's sort of like. And I think I want to say Scary Movie is a familiar enough piece in the cinematic milieu that people are aware of what it is. It's like a spoof movie. It was like the first one of those big spoof movies. I beve it also stars the Wayans in some capacity.
Yep.
I think it has
they were in the first two.
I think it has some sort of ensemble cast, but the Wayans feature heavily among it because Why wouldn't they? But yeah, so it's sort of like a spoof of several different horror movies, all sort of crammed together, and wretchedly unfunny would be my review for what I remember. I saw that a long time ago. And
I think the first one was dumb but funny.
Your opinion is, Isaac, I love you. You know that, right? Like, no matter what the show is, deep down, I am always going to love you. Your opinion is wrong.
It's like man getting it in the groin with a football is funny. Like, it's not funny intellectually at all, but it's still just
I'm willing to. It's been a long time since I've seen it. I'm willing to accept it might be worth a laugh. I don't know. But anyway, that kicked off an entire line. It did very well, if my memory serves. And A Haunted House 1 and 2 also did very well, which is just, this country is a mistake. It's an experiment that has failed. But
we have to make America great again.
Don't start again. I believe that's a campaign slogan for somebody. But Scary Movie kicked off an entire line of spoof movies. Like, I know it's like Hero movie, I think. There was a couple Scary Movie sequels. But it turned into this whole, like, let's make a spoof movie that sends up a few different of these genre movies crammed together and, like, put the Wayans in. They seem to be in many of them. And
what's the one you really like that's like rom-com making fun of?
Search me. I actually
you have mentioned it. Like Hot Chick?
Chick? That's with Rob Schneider.
I guess, not that.
I don't...
I swear to God, you have mentioned this several times.
I'm willing to believe that may be true, but I don't... I have no clue. Oh, there's a Cabin in the Woods is kind of that, but it's not
very
a
horror
clever.
movie. It's a send up of like high school rom-coms.
Oh, not another teen movie.
Yeah.
That one is. I have fond memories of that. Although I'm sure. Yes. Okay. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I would say I like that movie, but no illusions that it's good. And I think that's more of like I have a youthful connection to it, and it was like early titties for me when I was a teenager, so they fucking were prominent in my mind because I was a teenager. I was a teenage boy. What do you want from me?
Early titties. Stop talking about my chest, Larry.
I'm talking about a young Michael Tiddes, the director of Haunted House 2 and My Doom. But no, yeah, so there's a whole line of these, and the Wayans are frequently featured. And this is another one of them. And I was not aware of that. Although looking at it now, I'm sure I was when it came out. But again, 2014, I was kind of surprised that it was that late. I expected it to be like, in my head, if you had showed me the cover and asked me, like, do you remember this? When did it come out? I'd have said like 2004. Mm-hmm. So the Haunted House is sort of a combination of, very obviously, The Conjuring, which is a horror movie I've actually seen. I think it's pretty famous. Which is about we'll get into the plot of The Conjuring very briefly later on, and also the Paranormal Activity series, and a tiny bit of Saw, the Saw series. But more Paranormal Activity is the primary, and then The Conjuring is sort of the secondary, and then there's like they take some shit from Saw and probably other stuff I haven't seen. But that Paranormal Activity, that whole series of movies is a series of horror movies that for some reason are very popular and people find very scary. I saw one and actually was like, it's not that scary really. But maybe it was just a bad one. I don't know. And I mean, I'm a coward when it comes to horror movies. I hate them. But the whole Paranormal Activity idea is that it's basically shot from like sort of security cam footage, like entirely
found footage. I hate that shit.
It's sort of a found footage, but it's more of like it's like the family's security system in their house, and then like camcorder footage. And that's 98% of this movie is shot like that. That's the idea. But I had no clue. But let's not delay much longer. I just wanted to get it out there that it's like one of those spoof movies that's spoofing a couple of different things. And I have never been so disappointed about a movie that was so bad, which is a weird statement, but we'll get to it. Because just strap yourself in, folks, because I'm going to start off right here and say that straight out. This is hands down the worst movie I've ever seen in my entire life.
Good Lord. That's a bold proclamation.
It is the actual worst film I've been subjected to. Like
this is your 50th movie for the Bowels of Netflix.
This is my 50th movie from this iteration, yeah. And before, I would say probably Guest House was the one that I was the angriest about by far.
Oh, right.
I was very, very angry about that movie. This is much worse.
Good God.
But you know what? I'm totally passionless about it. It was...
You were hyped up for Guest House.
I was mad about Guest House. I was really mad about Naked. And Naked's a better movie than this. Easily a better movie than this. Not even a question. It's not even close. This movie was so bad, so fast, and just had no breaks at any given point during the 1 hour, 26 minute, and 21 second runtime. That
so
at no
my lovemaking.
Yeah, you wish. That at no point did I even engage with the movie enough to hate it. I mean, do I hate it? Come on now. Do you know me? Guys, you've heard me do 50 fucking episodes of the show now. This is the 50th that I have taken the lead on. I hate everything. I hate this movie in the same vague way that someone might hate terrorism. Terrorism is awful. Do I hate it? Sure. Do I think about it ever? Not really. A Haunted House 2 is the terrorism of movies. It affected my life in a very roundabout way, but not in a way that's something in my focus. A Haunted House 2 is like getting in the car to go to the dentist, but like you just sit in the car and never actually go to the dentist. The experience sucks, but you never actually get to the dentist and have drills in your mouth. So while I can say with complete confidence that this movie I am reviewing for you today is absolutely easily the worst thing I've ever been subjected to watch, I have to tell you that I'm just passionless. For me to hate, I have to be hooked, and I didn't even come close, remotely close to being hooked. I don't think I got angry at any point. Because it would the whole thing about this, I was just exasperated. I just looked at this and said, hey, are we seriously doing this again? Are we just doing this again? Titties. Marlon. Perhaps if time had played this differently and I watched this first instead of White Chicks or Naked or fucking, I keep wanting to say Stepsisters, Sextuplets, maybe I'd have had more passion. So perhaps my skew for the Wayans productions have just skewed me to a point where I start exasperated and I just never got out of the stable. But yeah, this was the worst movie that I've ever seen, and I don't care. And you know me, I care about everything. It ruins my life. It's ruining my life actively every second of every day. And I didn't care about this.
This is an odd mood.
It really is. It really is.
Yeah, I'm not used to it.
It's a short review. I mean, comparatively to what I normally write page-wise, but it's going to feel long. I promise. So we get...
How many times have I said that?
Your poor, poor beleaguered wife. And her poor, unsatisfied vagina. God, why did I say that? Why did I say that? Fuck's sake.
Because you're under oath. You can't tell a lie.
Yeah, we do have a judge present at every recording of this. It's part of our court-mandated sentence. So we begin directly with what I assume is fallout from A Haunted House 1. We get some chatter of Marlon Wayans and a guy. I don't know. I've been trying to keep up with actors and people in the movie if they have a significant role. And I think this guy is somebody, but I hated him so immensely that I just chose not to even talk about him. Anyway, they're very lewdly talking about cramming a woman into the car while on a black screen before we cut to see what's actually going on. And they're talking about, like, one of them mentions fingering her and blah, 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 which we'll see is horrifying in a second. Our main character is, surprise, surprise, fucking prize, Marlon Wayans. Marlon Wayans. If this is for some insane reason your first episode of this podcast, he is a frequent visitor to the bowels of Netflix. His roles are
a national treasure. Great talent.
He is a horrid, limited, horrible actor. His roles are terrible. I've never seen him in anything I've remotely liked. I hate him. He is wretchedly unfunny. But as I've grown to learn over the past couple of outings with him, I do respect his commitment to his craft. And he has a fantastic grasp of physical comedy and how to make it work. The man can throw himself around in a way that even me can find, like, even if I don't laugh, I can be like, okay, that's funny. Like, at one point in this movie, for example, he trips on a toy truck. The fucking level of commitment he does to fucking pratfalling is so outrageous. It's like, I have to respect that.
You can't not like a good pratfall.
Right. He has a very limited skill set, but he has honed that craft very well. And he is good at that. I don't find it fun, but I can respect that. If nothing else, he is not a hack. He is a bad actor, but he is not a hack. I will give him that. I don't like him. I don't like him. I don't like anything he's been in so far. I respect him a little bit. We'll talk about that later, too. And so another thing that's kind of weird, this is the first R-rated movie of his that I've seen, both in the show and in my regular life, which is very off-putting because he says fuck a lot and he says the N-word a lot. The N-word gets thrown around a lot in here. Now, thankfully, it's only between African Americans, so it's not. It's never with the hard R. There is a brief joke about a white person almost saying it, but it thankfully doesn't happen. So yeah, it's not. I'm not gonna comment on it at all because it's not my place. But yes, there's no hard R. It's not used derogatorily. I mean, anyway, but it's very weird to hear like this coming out of Marlon Wayans, who I've known in like PG-13 movies at best. Mm-hmm. So. Anyway, the other person with Marlon Wayans in this particular beginning of adventure is his cousin Ray Ray. Ray Ray is your typical pastiche of a stereotypically hood black man. Ray Ray is played by a man named Affion Crockett, who apparently is a regular Wayans contributor. As such, I am honor-bound to hate this man. Ray Ray's biggest bit is that he pronounces the word homie like homie. Like, that's funny. I'm going down to the store, homie. It's hilarious. That's his bit, and he tries to cram it into every sentence at least once. It's shit, and I hate it. We learn through banter that apparently they're in a car. Ray Ray is driving, and Marlon is in the back seat with a woman. And apparently this woman is Marlon's girlfriend, who is possessed as shit. Marlon wants to take her to a hospital, but Ray Ray refuses and will only push her out into the street as they drive by. He lists off all the tickets and outstanding warrants he has, which I mention only because one of them is for eating grapes in the grocery store before paying, which I know is a pet peeve of yours.
Very much so. Fucking middle-aged ladies. God damn it.
I told my girlfriend that, because she does that too. I don't. I just don't eat grapes. She does that too, and I told her that. And she just looked me directly in the eye and ate another one, and she's like, tell him he can try and stop me if he wants.
It's theft!
So, anyway, yeah, so more and more of this Ray Ray shtick is happening, and we get brief snippets of whatever from Marlon. Ray Ray gives Marlon a gun to pistol whip the girlfriend, whose name is Keisha, but Marlon refuses. Keisha awakens and begins doing like a possession routine where she speaks to Marlon in demon voice, saying all kinds of just really funny stuff that's really hilarious. And ends up speaking like some priest named Father Williams, who the two men identify. Which I mention that now only because that's a character that appears later in this movie, and I have no idea why the fuck this demon possessing Marlon's girlfriend is using the priest's manner of speech. I'll bring it up later when we get to that character. But I realized that on my second watch through, and I'm like, well, what's the joke here? I don't understand. But anyway, shit happens, and Keisha's trying to attack Marlon in the back seat, but he fights her off. So she turns her attention to Ray Ray, and after breathing into his face, which for some reason knocks him out, Ray Ray wrecks the car. Marlon awakens and finds that while Ray Ray is alive, Keisha is dead. The two of them roll out of the car, and Marlon, the man who 10 seconds ago said he wouldn't pistol whip Keisha, now tells Ray Ray that they have to run and pretend they were never there, and Keisha, I guess, just died in the back seat. We never question it again.
Jesus.
And we cut to 1 year later. This movie sucks real bad. 0 stars. Right. Anyway, like I said, the entire movie is shot Paranormal Activity style because Marlon is. It's not really said this exactly, but I'm guessing the idea is that he is so paranoid about his ghost experiences in the past that he just records everything now. That's just part of his character. So they're moving. He and his new family, moving into a new house, and there's cameras all over the place. And usually someone's holding a camcorder to get camcorder shots. We see that in the resulting year, Marlon is moving into a new, very nice house with a new girlfriend played by Jamie Presley. You may know her from My Name is Earl, a show which starred Crabman from Jiu-Jitsu, who was the best part of that movie and kind of the best part of My Name is Earl, and also a bunch of other people. But I actually like Jamie Presley.
You might also know her as the original Margot Robbie.
Oh, really?
She just looks so much like her.
She does.
Is like 15 years older than her.
Mm-hmm. I don't think Jamie Presley's had a very prolific career, which is unfortunate because I like her. I mean, she doesn't blow me away, but as an actress, I like her, and I'd like to see her in more. Kind of like Crabman. I have the same thing. Like, funny people, good actors, they seem to have really bad roles, which is unfortunate. I mean, she's in the fucking Marlon Wayans movie, for Christ's sake. It's hard to get worse than that. So it's important to note two things. By the way, she is not related to Elvis Presley, which I wasn't sure. I had to check. And she is also, in fact, a white woman. I mention this because Marlon's race serves as the catalyst for roughly 45% of the jokes in this movie. I wish I was joking. And this leads me into something that I was trying to figure out as I watched this. As a white man, I'd really love to...
Wait, you're white?
Yes. Sorry, I had to find out this way.
Oh my God.
My new setup at the Noodle Factory V2 is in front of a window. And as you pointed out when we started recording, because I didn't notice, there is a light shining on me, and I am nearly pure white, like the vision of Christ in the morning light here. And as a white man, I'd really like to know what the black community at large thinks of Marlon Wayans. In the past, his movies have been sort of hit or miss on how related to race they were, and I'm operating off of memory here. But in Naked, I don't think his race ever comes up as a plot point in any way. And in Sextuplets, it's more or less only used to make, weirdly enough, Irish jokes. And White Chicks is also a movie. I don't think I need to bring out exactly how that went, but let's say for the sake of brevity that race was, in fact, a factor of the plot of White Chicks. And I want to be very careful in how I consume and critique what I'm going to call traditionally black comedy, which I think Marlon Wayans is in that category pretty firmly. It's difficult to know the line where I'm calling out something as being, hey, that's kind of shitty and dumb and racist, while not knowing where that line is exactly, because it's not meant for me. I didn't grow up in that community. I don't know the struggles even remotely.
Yeah. Or how jokes land with the black audience.
Right, or what is like something that's appropriate for a joke for Marlon Wayans to make in a movie like this that, I want to say, like, that feels really racist and not cool. For example, and I'll talk about this later, but a good example, there is a scene where he's in a church later, and he's talking to some pretty stereotypically black church ladies, older church ladies, and they talk about Medea movies, Tyler Perry's Medea. Mm-hmm. And I just don't know how to take that. It seems like it's really uncool, but is it? I don't know. Like, it's not like Marlon Wayans is a room full of white guys and he wrote this movie. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I'd really like to know, like, if we have any black listeners who would want to talk about that, I'd really like to know. I'm just out of curiosity because, I don't know. I don't know how to take it. And I'm like realizing it's very fascinating and I want to kind of learn more about that.
The Marlon, the Marlon stand-up show I was at recently, the audience was definitely skewed toward African-American, more so than, there probably would have been for a comedian who wasn't Marlon Wayans. So I think he's definitely popular in the black community. Right. Whether or not some people find him problematic, I don't know. But
yeah, and I don't want to just out and out say like, it's shitty that he's making all these race jokes. I think it's not funny. That's what I want to lean into. A lot of this stuff I don't find very funny. And maybe it's not for me, but I think based on how many people don't like this, I think I'm on the right track, at least. But I don't want to really flirt with the line of how offensive something is for the sake of being racist. I think this movie definitely crosses that line at points, and I'm going to point that out when I think it's pretty clearly obvious that, okay, you're not trying here. But I don't know where that line is. And like in a movie like this with a guy like Marlon Wayans, I don't want to fuck up somebody's day by saying something tone deaf, because I'm trying to learn. I'm trying to expand my worldview to include that was not one that I grew up with. And like, I may respect Marlon Wayans in a way, even though I truly cannot stand him. It's difficult to strike a balance in saying this is bad comedy and not trying to offend a style of comedy I've been unaware of because it wasn't part of the culture I grew up with. I know that's long-winded and probably too wordy, but I hope you understand what I'm trying to say by that, where it's I don't want to just call out something. I don't want to be just your average Facebook liberal and say that's racist because it's about black people. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to just be that kind of person. I want to understand it, but I don't yet. And with a guy like Marlon Wayans, it's difficult because all of his comedy is bad. So it's really hard when it's bad and it's like very racial in tone. It's difficult to strike a balance for me to be like, why is that bad? Is it just bad because he sucks?
Probably more so that more often. I
think so, and that's where I lean. But I just wanted to throw that out there, just because, like, I really hope I don't offend anybody when I review a movie like this. That is never my intention. So I'd really like to know what the black community at large thinks of Marlon Wayans as a representative of your race, which I say only because he puts himself out there with a lot of. This movie is a lot of race jokes. It's a lot of race jokes, Isaac. It's mostly race jokes.
Yeah. His stand-up wasn't super race-based, actually.
Well, it's been he's older and wiser, and I still
he's
hate
older.
Him. I still hate him. Still hate the man. Anyway, so that aside, Marlon and Jamie are talking about their new house and being somewhat mushy and somewhat sexy as Marlon mentions, "You bribing me with vagina." We see the teenage daughter right nearby is filming this and calls their behavior disgusting. Marlon says, "Oh, so it's disgusting when we do it, but when you kiss the entire sophomore class, it's cool, huh?" Isaac, I sure hope you like jokes about this promiscuous teenage girl because, boy howdy, is Marlon your man for that particular quip.
Is he slut-shaming his daughter?
The daughter's only characterization in this entire movie is being a slut and her being shamed for that.
That's good.
To follow up, the next line is Marlon calling the daughter a whore when she walks off to make out with some dude on the sidewalk. It is almost every scene that she's in. We'll get to it, and it gets so much worse. Meanwhile, the maybe 10-year-old son appears to be in the yard playing with an imaginary friend. Marlon and Jamie talk to him, and he mentions his imaginary friend is Tony. When asked to help move boxes into the house, the son says Tony refuses to help, putting on a black voice to mimic Tony's reply to being asked to help. Marlon mentions that having a black imaginary friend is pretty progressive. I'm sure that storyline will be very narratively satisfying. We see Marlon and Jamie start making out pretty hot and heavy, and Marlon mentions, "Let's go piss off your forefathers," to which Jamie replies that interracial relationships aren't a big deal anymore. The movie then spends the next 120 minutes trying to disprove that statement, but we'll get to that.
I like that joke.
Marlon does
Let's piss off your forefathers.
Yeah.
I like that one.
Good for you. Maybe you should have watched this. Fucking paid money to see Marlon Wayans. Jesus Christ. You're a sick man. You need help. Marlon does some shtick about black women for a minute, and we see his new dog, a little white thing of some sort. I don't know dog models. I talk about it every third episode. Apparently he had a dog named Shiloh in the first movie, so this dog is named Shiloh Jr. We then see we don't see a ghost, but like a rope is untied clearly by a ghost. A rope that was carrying a safe, which we never see again in the movie, which promptly crushes Shiloh Jr. So God. Got to watch a dog die before 6 minutes of this movie had passed. Real cool, man.
Jesus.
Thanks a ton. Marlon does a solid 2 minutes, 2 full minutes plus of shtick about the dead dog. And he is absolutely comedically losing his mind about the dog being crushed and dead. Clearly, this is a bunch of improv on his part, and the fact he is dramatically overacting is supposed to be the sell. And again, credit where it's due. Marlon Wayans does not half-ass this. This is his brand. He throws himself into the grieving loudly and ridiculously for this dog for quite a while. Eventually, this ends with him pumping up the dog's corpse with a bike pump and chasing it as it deflates like a balloon down the street. And then at the dog funeral in the backyard, he buries himself with the dog in a grave at the backyard funeral, covering himself and filling his mouth with dirt as he is shrieking the dog's name to this guy. Like I said, I respect him. He does not half-ass his brand of comedy. It would be nice if at any point that comedy was funny, but you can't always get what you want. You try sometimes, you just might find you get a bullet in your own head fired from a gun you pointed at yourself. I'm just going to let this whole thing pass by and forget it ever happened. I don't want to see a dog death, and I'm definitely positive this won't happen a second time. Definitely not.
No.
Days pass, the daughter is in the living room with a decently sized wooden box. Marlon mentions you could fit a whole lot of birth control in that. Isaac, are you tired of that joke yet?
Good God.
She tells him that she really hates him. He replies with, quote, "That's what your daddy said. That's why the N-word gone." Of course, except he actually says the word. I am not going to say it here because I value being a contributing member of society and not a piece of shit. It's so weird to hear Marlon, like, after watching the last 3 of his movies that I've seen for the show, they were all PG-13. It's very strange to hear him doing, like, blue comedy like this. I don't know. It's fine. I don't care. It's just, like, it took
jarring.
Even through the second watching, I was still like, God, he has just said the N-word. Marlon Wayans just said the N-word. And I'm like, I wasn't ready for this today, apparently. So they talk for a bit about the obviously haunted box this girl is carrying and have a bit of useless dialogue where we see she's obviously very obsessed with the haunted box. We cut from that very appropriate scene to yet another running gag in this movie. Marlon goes to the neighbor's yard where Gabriel Iglesias, a.k.a. the comedian Fluffy, is mowing the lawn. Fluffy is a comedian. I do not like Fluffy's comedy. That is my review of Fluffy. Anyway, his bit in this movie is that he is very stereotypically Mexican, and he's actually a Mexican man in real life. Fluffy pretends to take everything personally and assume that everything Marlon tells him is racially stereotyping Fluffy. And then, of course, the fucking prestige on that joke is that it's all true. Like, he gets upset because Marlon's like, hey, can you add us to your landscaping route? And he's like, oh, just because I'm Mexican, you think that I'm automatically a landscaper? He, of course, is a landscaper, and there's 2 minutes a bit about that. And I'm just not going to do it. I'm just not gonna fucking do it. Truly hilarious. So like I said,
astute racial comedy.
Mm-hmm. It's very unfunny. So long story short, they become friends because Fluffy likes to fuck with him and be like, pretend he's very offended, and then he's not. We cut to the inside of the house. We see camcorder vision as Marlon starts grinding on Jamie Presley's ass. Larry said, not jealous at all. Apparently, Jamie found an old doll in the closet and has it out on a rocking chair. Isaac, the doll is just Annabelle from The Conjuring. If you've never seen The Conjuring, by the way, because it comes up a lot, because this movie, like I said, is primarily Paranormal Activity, and The Conjuring is what it spoofs of. The Conjuring is about a haunted doll, and there's like a fucking demon. I saw it a long time ago. It wasn't very good, in my opinion. But again, I'm not a horror movie fan, so I think it's pretty beloved. It's about this haunted doll and the fucking demon possessing it, and this pair of sham ghost hunters that have fucking convinced people they're real ghost hunters, but we'll get to that later on too, called the Warrens, and their whole fucking adventures with this haunted doll, blah, blah, blah. But anyway, yeah, so the doll from that movie is called Annabelle. The doll in A Haunted House 2 is just the same doll. It, like, not even, like, I saw it and I'm like, oh, that's the doll from The Conjuring. Okay, I guess, whatever. They call it a different name. They call it Abigail, but it's the same doll. So, real subtle. So anyway, yeah, like Jamie Presley finds it in the closet and puts it in a rocking chair, and Marlon is obviously creeped out by the doll because it's a creepy doll. Wait, no, I'm sorry, I'm wrong. He's not creeped out by the doll because in the next scene, he proceeds to fuck the doll.
Oh.
And let me explain the scene of Marlon fucking the doll. The doll is on the bed because she threw it there to mess with him. Jamie Presley did. And he comes in, it's like camcorder vision of him, and he proceeds to just fuck the doll. And it's about a minute long, and he records it. And it's just like a bunch of little vignettes of him performing sex acts on the doll, including pulling off a condom so he can come inside the doll raw. God. Which means at some point he put a condom on to fuck this doll. So the whole storyline with the doll is that it's treated as if he's cheated on his wife with the doll, and she's like a crazy stalker ex who is stalking him. But instead of a real woman, it's a doll. And that's the joke.
So he put the condom on just to take it off to goosh in the doll?
Yes. It's treated as if the doll is real. I mean, we're going to see the doll is alive. It's haunted alive, believe it or not. But it's not like, it's never ambulatory. It's just a doll.
If you're going to come up in them guts, why put a condom on in the first place?
The doll does not have a doll vagina.
Why not?
Because it was ostensibly a children's toy, Isaac, you fucking psychopath.
Still, I don't understand Marlon's condom usage.
You should just not think about it. And I'm not saying that as a off-the-cuff joke. I'm saying that just, it's not worth it. Because it's not, like, there's no logical explanation. They wanted to do a joke about he is stalked by an ex that he cheated on his wife with, which is treated like he cheated on his wife with the doll. But they thought, like, well, instead of it just being, like, a lady, let's just make it the doll from The Conjuring. That's funny.
Yeah, that's... All right, I'm on board.
No, you're not. So after he's done fucking the doll, Jamie comes home and he freaks out because he realizes he recorded it and is lying naked with basically another woman in his bed. We do get the best shot of the entire movie here because while he's like trying to pull on his clothes and hide the condom and the wrapper and the evidence, he hucks the doll out the window and we get like an exterior shot of a security cam, but it's like way up high. So we see the doll just like sail into frame and like sail directly into the pool. It's a funny looking shot. Like I appreciated that. Like it gave me a little chuckle.
One win for Tiddes.
That is my last bit of praise for this picture, except for one brief cameo we'll talk about. That night, Marlon finds a bunch of old films in the attic, and after some shtick with the projector, he plays one. He sees what looks to be the 70s. There's a normal family doing normal family yard stuff in the same house, until it cuts to a Saw-like scene, like the horror movie franchise Saw, which is, you want to play a game that I've never seen any of them, but I mean, I'm pretty sure everybody knows the premise of the Saw movies. With the family standing in front of a tree and a creepy masked man attempting to hang them via a rope, which breaks. The man then climbs into the tree to try and do something, but of course it falls on, lands on his balls and then falls out of the tree. That's just a thing that happened. This whole thing never makes any sense, and it keeps coming up, and we'll keep referring to it because I'm just in hell. It annoys me because in like all of these, like, because we're gonna see multiple movies of these like 70s where the Saw guy tries to kill this family and keeps bungling it because he's a bungler. In every one, I have an issue with the attempt of the way the murder is attempted, because in this one he tries to hang all three of them with a single rope, but like they're just standing on the ground. So I have no idea how, without a complicated system of pulleys and levers, how this was ever supposed to work. And even though it doesn't matter, because spending even a single second of my precious, precious life trying to use brain power to figure out how this movie was supposed to work is a waste, but it did irritate me that when he tries to hang them and a rope breaks, none of them would have actually hung. Very stupid.
Why did he put the condom off just to take it? I messed that up already. Just slap me. Just slap me in the tits. He gooshed in the doll.
The doll doesn't have a puss because we get a close-up of its undercarriage as he's eating its ass and talking about eating its ass before he rubs it into his own naked ass. This is the most naked I've ever seen Marlon Wayans, by the way.
Yeah, not in the movie Naked.
That's a great point. I actually don't know. I think we technically see more of him because there's like some angle. There's no dick or balls, obviously, but there's like more angles of him definitely nude, like cramming the doll into his crotch. I think there's more. I think I've seen more Marlon Wayans skin in this movie than Naked. I really do, but I'd have to watch Naked again to confirm, and I'm just not.
I like to think
I'm just not going to do that.
A vagina just magics into the undercarriage of the doll, and then like at will.
The doll doesn't get pregnant, but it is discussed. We'll get to it. There's plenty of movie to go. Yeah, so anyway, Marlon watches this fucking weird Saw movie, and he's, of course, very upset about it and writes a note about it while mentioning it kind of turned him on before getting a phone call of a little girl saying that on the other line, it's the devil. I hate this movie. We then get a jump scare as Marlon is looking out the window at the yard where the demon guy was to see his ex who died in the car, Keisha. As Jamie approaches her from behind, he almost punches her, and it turns into a race thing where he tells her that he thinks he saw a ghost, and she gets offended because she thinks that he thinks he is calling her too white. I'm passionless. It devolves into a race bit, and then a cancer bit, and then it's about Obama and raisins. I don't know. Fuck you. The next scene is an extended sex scene with Marlon and Jamie, and I'm just going to skip it because it adds nothing and isn't very funny. Jamie squirts in his face. He gets comedically tired from excessive amounts of sex, and that's it. Next morning, we see Marlon is watching the sex tape, and Annabelle, the doll, who was sitting next to the bed on a rocking chair, turns her head to watch them fuck. Marlon tries to show this to Jamie, but Jamie is horrified instead at her own ass and calls herself fat, which depresses me on several levels. Marlon tells her he loves her big ass as he is a black man and all black men love big asses, but Jamie
Scientific fact.
Jamie turns around to say that Marlon hates her loose vagina. Isaac, when you're dead, I will not mourn you. I will not mourn your loss. This scene turns into any other Marlon Wayans bit, so I'm just going to skip it. Jamie demands he erase the tape so he loses his creepy doll head footage. After she leaves, Marlon suddenly gets a Facebook request from Annabelle, the doll. Anyway, Annabelle has like any old white girl's Facebook profile, except it's a creepy doll doing the same things that any typical white girl's Facebook profile would look like. It's like her on the beach, her drinking a Starbucks, etc., etc. The Facebook profile shows her is in a relationship with Marlon, and it has like 30,000 likes. Suddenly, he gets a bunch of text from Annabelle, which is just a bunch of selfies of her, including one of her tied up in shibari, which is Japanese bondage, with her doll titties out. I don't like this movie, and I would prefer to not continue reviewing or watching it. But unfortunately,
I'm getting uncomfortable.
My Sisyphean. Is that right? Sisyphean burden.
Sisyphean?
My Sisyphus-like burden is to continue. What's the experiment where they have people like taking orders to shock people, and it's like the person getting shocked on the side of the wall? I can't remember the name of the experiment.
Milgram?
Yeah, that sounds right. It's like it's an experiment where people who aren't aware of what's going on are like being kind of directly asked to keep shocking a person on the other side of a wall they can't see who keeps failing questions, and in very high, most of the time they shock the person to death because the proctor keeps saying it is imperative that you continue. That's kind of how I feel, is that God is telling me it is imperative that I must continue. And even though I don't want to, I am going to shock you to death. Oh, shit. Fuck. I shouldn't have revealed that murder.
Jeez, you would have made a great Nazi.
I'm not going to agree to that. I think you're wrong. So yeah, she got her doll titties out. Marlon talks to the camera, and the entire storyline, like I said, is treated as if he cheated on Jamie with a real woman, and that woman is a psychopath. I'm passionless. Hating this would require an effort I simply do not possess. Anyway, to combat the creepiness, we get a scene of Marlon setting up more cameras and everywhere in the house, including in the toilet bowl. I assumed I'd be in for a shot of Marlon Wayans' asshole expelling shit later, but thankfully this movie is blessedly devoid of toilet bowl camera shots. I'm sure there's deleted footage of it, but we don't get to see it. There's a quick scene here where Marlon and the son play a game that's direct. This scene is just directly from The Conjuring. They just kind of Marlon Wayans it up. If you've never seen The Conjuring, it's like a game where you blindfold yourself and you have it's hide and seek with a blindfold, and you get the seeker to, instead of saying like Marco Polo, they clap. And he ends up in the bedroom, and two hands come out of the wardrobe to clap, which is like one of the creepier scenes from The Conjuring I remember. It was one of those selling points. But the son comes in, and he's not in the wardrobe, and then Marlon goes to investigate, and a creepy face jumps out at him, and he punches it right in the face, but of course it's just Jamie wearing a mask, and there's like a whole bit here where he's like crowing about how good he cold-cocked this monster, and even when he finds out it's his beloved wife or girlfriend or whatever, he's still like, yeah, but I still fucked you up, right? Like, I knocked your ass out, and it's just fucking just pooping into each other's butts back and forth forever. God damn it, I just hate all of this. Yeah, so then he's watching he emails some fucking ghost professor or whatever. Sorry, kids, ghosts aren't real, but there's a whole industry around fucking ghost hunting. I have zero belief in the supernatural. Sorry. So I'm not even going to entertain it. But Marlon replays the tape of the hanging scene he watched earlier. We have a back and forth scene here that he keeps looking away from the computer to muse about what to do, while the tape is zoomed in on the monster saw guy's face. And when Marlon looks away, the face turns to look at him and starts like making faces and doing lewd gestures and shit. And then Marlon like keeps looking back, and the camera's it's back to the shot of him like not doing anything. So it's like one of those scenes, and then like Marlon, he just starts whistling and pretending he's not looking, and then catches the saw guy in the act in the tape, and then he's like, "Aha, I got you!" And the saw guy's like, "No, you didn't," and it's very funny. It's very
sounds
funny.
like it. I'm stifling laughter.
I know, I hear it, and you're not hacking up a lung; you're hacking up a lung of laughter. Nope, failed
hacking
that joke.
Up joy, pure joy. That's what Marlon makes. He makes joy in this world.
He makes money. This movie, by the way, I totally forgot. I'm sorry. I think they made this movie for like $2 million. I already closed the tab. They made this movie for like $2 million. It made $25 million. It made obscene amounts of money. Obscene amounts of money. Which is why the first one was reviewed horribly, but it also made obscene amounts of money, and that's why there was a second one. I think between the two of them, they made like over $40 million.
Jeez.
Ridiculous. Anyway, I don't know why I explained all that. That night, the daughter is asleep, and the obvious haunted box she had a couple of scenes ago opens and starts talking to her. It says, "Becky, it's your box. I want you to touch me." So, Isaac, what does she start doing?
Like fingering the actual box, not her pussy, right?
No, she starts masturbating. And then the box is like, "No, not that box." It's great.
Okay.
Guess what? Do you like that joke?
I like thinking about...
You're going to hear it again. Don't finish that sentence. I know where you're going, and I know how you're going to correct it, but let's just not finish it. And we all know Isaac's a good person, and let's not have to explain the 5 seconds where you were going to say you weren't and then correct that you were, and let's just not do it altogether. Let's just head this one off at the pass. All right,
to
Early?
Clarify, it was only 18 and 19-year-old teenagers I was going to mention.
I'm
legal
well
tender.
Legal tender. Yeah, it's great. So yeah, it's fucking. She starts masturbating. The box is like, "No, not this box. Not your box. My box." I want to kill him. It's supposed to be the middle of the night, by the way, but it's very obviously daytime based on the light through the window, and they put a filter over it. So real good. Nice job, gang. In the master bedroom, Marlon and Jamie hear strange noises. We see the haunted box is full of old jewelry and also inexplicably moths. After some arguing, Marlon goes to investigate the noise to find out the daughter's room is completely full of like hundreds of moths. Marlon and Jamie do some classic Wayans gags here to try and get rid of the moths, the gigantic cloud of moths, including trying to smash them with nunchucks, a fly swatter, and a dildo, before eventually just hanging up a bunch of bug zapper lights and calling it a night. The next morning, God damn fucking sake. The son is having a tea party with his imaginary friend, which Marlon encouraged him to stop and do something more masculine instead. By the way, I don't know if I mentioned this before. These kids are both Jamie's prior to meeting Marlon, if that's not obvious. These are not his biological children.
I think I gathered that from context clues.
Right. Anyway, Marlon tries to join the tea party where the son won't leave. There's back and forth through the son with the imaginary friend, and after some very boring shtick and a note that the tea party, the tea in the tea party is vodka. And Marlon is like, this is fucking straight up vodka. What the hell? And the imaginary friend's chair flies back, and the son basically just says the imaginary friend is a drunk. Again, I'm sure this will be wrapped up in a very narratively satisfying manner. Marlon tries to lay down the law and tell the son not to be friends with the imaginary friend anymore, but the bunch of poltergeist shit starts happening, and Marlon is like thrown out of the room, I think. And just kind of is like, well, that sucks. There's a loud knock at the door, and Marlon goes to find that it's Annabelle, who has left him a note. He goes upstairs to talk to the doll, and once again, it's played as if she is his side chick, and ultimately devolves into him fucking her again after a bunch of vignettes of him talking at her, which I'm skipping. It's just more Marlon Wayans improv, and it's just not funny, and I'm just not going to do it. Eventually, we cut to Marlon having a video call with the ghost hunter professor he emailed earlier. The professor tells him that the creepy Saw dude in the old videos is a demon named a ghoul. Like a ghoul. Ghoul. A ghoul, one word. That's never brought up as a joke or anything, so I truly think they wrote that in the script as a placeholder, forgot to change it, and then on set found it hilarious and left it in. The professor mentions that Marlon must have tangled with the supernatural before, basically confirming that this is the same demon who must have harassed him in A Haunted House 1. Also, the professor is on the shitter, giving us a bunch of fart and poopy jokes that I'm sure Isaac would have laughed at, because Isaac loves fart jokes.
They're great.
Apparently, the professor is running a meth lab, so there's a bunch of ladies with their tits out while the professor is describing the demon stuff. Tits are great, but this does nothing for me, because I just wanted the movie to end. Long story short, there's a fucking demon. Who gives a shit? Marlon watches another attic home video where the same Saw guy, which we now know is the demon, a ghoul, tries unsuccessfully to drown the family in a pool. I'm not sure I understand this bit, but I also don't have to, so who gives a fuck? Marlon is taking more notes, as he does after every one of these home videos, and one of his notes says, quote, he's just like writing notes down about the videos and it just evolves into madness. One of the notes says, quote, when are they going to stop making scary movies without the Wayans? They fucking suck. And I choose to use that quote entirely out of context and say, yes, Marlon, I agree. The Wayans do fucking suck. Anyway, all through the house there arose such a clatter, and Marlon goes downstairs to find a large box in the foyer. I'm going to spare you the next 3 minutes of movie by saying it is almost an exact shot-for-shot rehash of the dog death scene from the beginning of this movie. The family has got him a replacement dog in a crate, and he freaks out and murders it with a gun and a chainsaw and a bunch of shit, and then grieves over its death comedically. Go fuck yourself, Isaac. Go fuck yourself. To further improve my life, Marlon finds the daughter not in possession of the haunted box. He starts looking through it, and we then get a 2-minute scene of there just being a whole back and forth between Jamie, the daughter, and Marlon, where he keeps talking about the box, and everyone thinks he's talking about her vagina. And she says, I didn't give him permission to touch my box. And he says, but her box is really stinky. And I just hate all of this. Also, I really hate the term box used as a vagina. I just never liked that. It just feels really gross and, like, shitty. That's the primary joke here.
It's not as sexy as some other words for it, like clam or snapper.
Yeah. Listen, Isaac, I love you, and I'm sure you're a magnificent lover, as you're still married despite the words that come out of your mouth. So clearly you must be a magnificent man in the sack. But boy, sexy you ain't.
I don't refer to it as a snapper in our sweet talking.
I sure hope not. I sure hope not. We have to have your wife on the show one day. So we then get more spooky stuff with the imaginary friend, blah, blah, blah. Marlon tries to convince Jamie the house is lousy with ghosts, but of course she doesn't believe him, and it's typical Wayans humor. This follows up with yet another fluffy scene, and hey, guess what? It's a racist bit. I wrote down explain, but I have already forgotten, even though I just watched this again last night, so I don't remember. I'm sure it was very not funny. Because guess what? He's like, hey, Fluffy, didn't you do this? And he's like, that's racist, bro. I'm Mexican and not a stereotype. And then the joke is that he is, in fact, the stereotype. There, I've explained it. Great. I did it anyway. Then you have to remember what it was.
trying to think of other Mexican racist stereotypes, and I can't.
It's something about a lowrider was the only part I remember, because he drives up in a lowrider, then swap meet. I don't know. It's a bunch of stuff. It's the same shit. It's the same bit every time. Following this, Marlon comes home to find Jamie having a regular old conversation with Keisha, Marlon's ex, who died at the beginning of this movie. And I think she was the female protagonist / antagonist of the first movie. She is very much normal and not possessed, telling Jamie casually that Marlon left her in a ditch to die, flashing creepy black demon eyes at him as she walks away. There's another Jamie and Marlon scene here, and it's just R-rated Wayans humor, as once again Marlon tries to explain that Keisha was possessed by a ghost. This time we get some flashbacks, which either were from the first movie, which would be very lazy, or were like cobbled together to make it seem they were like to highlight the relationship which they had while Keisha was possessed. I don't know, and I don't care. If you think I'm going to look up anything about a haunted house one, you're high as a kite. We get some possessed woman sex scene flashbacks here that I'm positive that Michael Tiddes thought was hilarious. Continuing in that vein, we see Marlon watching security cam footage of his daughter asleep, I guess to check on the haunted box or whatever, and sees the son come in, who sniffs his sister's butt before farting on her head, which you would have loved, you child stinky fart lover. The son then flaps around in a fairy outfit and starts reading the daughter's diary. Hey, Isaac, what do you think the contents of the daughter's diary are primarily about?
About how much of a slut she is?
Hey, it's almost like you've figured out the entirety of Marlon Wayans' humor. Yeah, it's about dicks. She's so promiscuous. She sucked a bunch of dicks and did a bunch of butt stuff. It's so funny, Isaac. It was so funny. I laughed so hard. Speaking of, the next morning, Marlon comes into the daughter, admiring a ring from the box in the bathroom.
Wait, comes into the daughter?
No, he comes into the bathroom where the daughter... I didn't finish the sentence. Come on, give me a break. She's in the bathroom, like, looking at a ring in the mirror, like, on her finger, and he, like, comes into the bathroom to talk to her. It's like the door's open, like, she's not naked or anything.
Right.
And she suddenly starts choking, and we get a close-up of her throat to see a penis shoot out of her throat into her mouth, like an alien chest burster from that franchise. Isaac, do you get it? It's so funny because she's so promiscuous, and she shouldn't be promiscuous, and we should shame women for their sexuality, and especially her because she loves cock, and that's an entire character trait, and she's bad, and we shouldn't like that.
I so don't understand slut-shaming because men are so horny. Why wouldn't we praise
Marlon
the
Wayans
sluts?
fucks a doll in this movie multiple times.
I champion sluts. We need more sluts.
It's so... Again, like 2004, it would still be bad, but I would be like, okay, whatever. Yeah, we're 2014. We're getting pretty evolved there as a society. I mean, obviously there's a ton of work to be done, but I want to say we're more evolved in 2014 than we were in 2004. I don't understand this. Why is there a fucking dick in her mouth? Someone thought that'd be funny. Someone made a realistic dick prop, and they're like, let's put it in this chick's throat. That's funny. Fucking hate this. I hate it in not like a comedy fucking podcast way. I just hate it. It's just stupid. Yeah, fuck. Yeah, of course, Marlon is then worried that her dick throat might be contagious, so we get to see it on his throat, too.
Oh, God. Heaven forbid a dick go into his throat.
Yeah, God forbid. Another call to the ghost hunter professor who's hosting a big house drug party and snorts coke off of a big tit. Marlon tries to get more info from the professor, but the cops show up and arrest the professor, so she doesn't get any info. The professor is marginally entertaining if you squint, but it's not just clinging to anything at that point. The next day, Annabelle has taken all of Marlon's clothes into the backyard where she proceeds to burn them. Get it? Isn't that funny? She's crazy. She's a crazy lady, but she's a doll. Another fluffy scene here with some more stereotypical Mexican jokes, this time about tequila. I'm going to make a long scene very, very short here. Marlon wants to tap into Fluffy's spirituality to use, essentially, Santeria to cleanse the house of evil. I'm not going to go any further into it because they don't.
Yeah.
Long story short, this involves a live chicken, which Marlon must kill by cutting its throat. A long, extended chicken fight scene happens here. Mm-hmm. And again, Marlon Wayans, physical comedy, he fucking gives it his all, and there's parts of this that are like, yeah, this is fine. This is, if this was in a better movie, I would have no problem with this.
I bet Marlon Wayans could make a silent movie and it would be decent.
Yeah, he would be good for the silent film era because he makes this chicken fight look as real as you possibly can with a man fighting a chicken puppet. So he knows to throw his body around comedically. It was technically sound, was my opinion of this fight. It drags on way too long, and I skipped about 50 shitty jokes between all of this, about 38 of which were racial in nature. But at this point, I'm just trying to get it over with. So he kills the chicken by, like, Randy Savage elbow drops the chicken to death or something, I don't know. And, after the fight, they've destroyed the kitchen, killed the chicken, and they deep fry it and eat it with waffles because Marlon Wayans is a black man. That's the joke, Isaac. Do you get it?
No.
Okay, well, I'm not going to explain it. Following this hilarity, we see that Annabelle has scrawled all over Marlon and Jamie's bedroom. She scrawled, like, "Miss Me" in red crayon all over the bedroom. Marlon is finally sick of this, and we get an extended few-minute scene of him repeatedly trying to kill the doll in exaggerated and nonsensical ways, including burying her in a grave where he pisses and shits on her. So we do get to see Marlon Wayans shit, but we just don't get to see asshole cam, so I'm still fine with this.
What would that do to help kill her?
It's funny to him, Isaac. A lot of these scenes that I'm saying, like, extended 2-minute scenes, it's a lot of, like, just him mugging to camera and just, like, little tiny montages of him just saying, like, punching her and then being like, yeah, fuck you, and then cutting her up and being like, yeah, you fucking like getting cut in half, like, and he pisses the word bitch onto her, and it's just like, I don't understand why anyone could like this. And there's, like, every one of these little, like, montage scenes is like this. It's just him basically improv mugging. So, anyway, yeah, he keeps trying to kill the doll and it keeps not working. Ultimately, he carves it into pieces and burns it, which is ineffective, and it keeps showing back up in the bedroom. Jamie walks in on Marlon trying to strangle a wooden haunted doll, which cannot breathe. Finally, Marlon breaks down completely and has the entire family in the living room where he starts just telling them about all the haunted shit that's going on, and just... He claims the doll raped him repeatedly, which I'm just going to let go because it's too much, and this review was already off the rails before it even started at this point, so fuck it. He's trying to convince the family all this haunted shit is real, and everybody's going nuts, and the son is an imaginary friend, which is a demon, and the girl's got a haunted box, which isn't her vagina, but then, of course, we have to talk about her vagina because she likes penis, and that's a bad thing, apparently. He sounds and acts like a lunatic, much like I'm starting to sound as I'm trying to review this fucking mess, and he's shouting at the family about spooky shit. Eventually, the phone starts ringing, and Marlon destroys it, assuming it's a ghost calling him, and he's waynesing it up as he's smashing the phone. This leads to the police showing up for a domestic disturbance, and we see Annabelle is the one who called the cops on the domestic disturbance. Don't ask, I have no answers. He fucked her with a condom, and then without a condom, I don't care. The cops then beat the shit out of Marlon Wayans, and we cut to a few days later. This is the worst movie I've ever seen. I just want to throw that in there again. It's been a while since I've said it, but I want to make sure you didn't forget. Marlon watches another one of the Saw-esque videos. This time, a ghoul tries to set a car on fire, which has the 70s family inside of it. Instead, however, a ghoul manages to comedically set himself on fire. It's very funny. I laughed so much. But this irritates me because he, like, covers this car in gasoline, and then, like, he tries to set it on fire, but he, like, sets his arm on fire, and there's a whole bit, like, he thinks he gets himself out, and he, like, goes, whoo, and then he goes up again in a towering inferno. But he's rolling around on the ground in the puddle of gasoline that would have set the car on fire, and it's just like, you could have had the man stand 1 foot further, and I wouldn't have had to think about it. But you
got a little walk-in there. He's rolling around on the ground.
Oh, God. So I don't know. It was very irritating. For some reason, Marlon takes heroin and cocaine and passes out. I don't know why. It just happens. Next day, he goes to a church where there's like a priest seminar on demons happening. One of the priests at this gathering is Cedric the Entertainer, who is dressed like the Exorcist, basically. If you're not familiar with that movie, just look it up. I'm not explaining. While this terse priest leading the seminar is trying to give demon hunting lessons, Cedric the Entertainer, I'm just gonna say it. He stereotypically blacks it up. Because you know what? That's what it is. Okay? His bit is that he was in prison and now he's an exorcist. That's his whole character. He was a black man in prison, now he's a demon exorcist, and that's the joke. I don't know what to think of this, so I'm just stating it. He's a comedian. Cedric the Entertainer is a comedian and a part-time actor, and I don't really know anything. I've never seen his stand-up. I don't really know anything about him other than his name, so I don't really have an opinion. He keeps interrupting the lead priest before eventually they argue, and Cedric shanks him in the stomach, murdering him, and after the two of them argue a bunch. Apparently, Cedric and Marlon know each other from the first movie, so Cedric was in the first movie. And in fact, if you recall the beginning of this review, which I forgive you if you don't, because how could you possibly remember what happened? And while Marlon and his cousin were in the car taking the ex-girlfriend to the hospital, she starts acting as Cedric the Entertainer.
Right.
And I don't he's alive. I don't understand. Like, was he must have been a big fixture in the first movie, I guess. I don't know. But it's her acting like him, it never made any sense to me. So whatever, I guess. I'm just not sure. It stuck with me for some reason. Like, why are they making this impression of this character who shows up like an hour into this movie? I don't know. Whatever. Yeah. So Marlon tries to get Cedric to help him. There's a bunch of prison talk as Cedric, like I said, used to be in prison, and that's his whole character. Cedric wants nothing to do with Marlon after the last movie, and frankly, who can fucking blame him? Who wants to do anything with Marlon Wayans after you work with him once? After they do some back and forth, which somehow devolves into talking about the Kardashians. I watched that part 3 times, and even trying to pay attention how the conversation ended up being about the Kardashians, I still don't know. I'm still not sure. Anyway, as they're talking, a bunch of what appears to be monster silhouettes start pounding on the windows, so Marlon leaves in fear, and it turns out that it's in fact just a bunch of church ladies angry that Marlon has apparently locked the door. They berate him about being married to a white woman, and like I said earlier, they talk about Medea movies. Please help me to understand. I don't know if this is offensive. It seems like it's offensive, but I genuinely don't know anymore. Marlon Wayans and Michael Tiddes have just fucked me topsy-turvy, and I can't keep anything straight. One final call to the ghost hunter professor, who is now in prison. He has no more ghost info for Marlon, but we do get a surprise appearance here by the world's strongest man and the head curator of the Hall of Pain, sexual chocolate himself, Mark Henry. If you're not familiar with Mark Henry, he is a wrestler who's been around for a long time. He's currently with AEW. Fantastic run. Very funny dude. Very down-to-earth guy. Legitimately was, like, for a while, the world's strongest man because he won some, like, Olympic strongman competitions. So, cool dude.
His fake retirement in the pink suit might be my favorite thing that I ever saw in wrestling.
It's one of the most excited times I've ever seen you watching wrestling. It was fantastic because I had seen it before you did. It was a fantastic bit where in his ridiculous, because he's a gigantic man, his ridiculous gigantic salmon colored suit as he fake retires. It was fantastic. Very, very great wrestling personality, and I'm a big fan. It's a brief scene, but I absolutely adore Mark Henry, so it was nice to see him, even if he is representing an extremely problematic and shameful part of our society that we tacitly allow and, in fact, encouraged for an upsettingly long amount of time, because he goes into saying how he's going to lead his group of Mandingos to Mandingo gang rape the professor.
Golly gee.
I love you, Mark, but god damn you, Tiddes. God damn you, Marlon. God damn you, Isaac. And yeah, so while this is a problematic scene in many ways, one quick note, because I love Mark Henry, and if you've never heard the man talk, you should just go look up a clip of him doing a fucking wrestling promo or something, because you can hear his voice. He does say the line, "Come over here and kiss me on my hot mouth. I'm feeling romantical." Fucking Mark Henry, he's a delight.
Man, he could seduce me with that line.
Yeah, and he is a brick shithouse of a man.
Yes, he's 6 feet wide.
He is a fucking square. Of all the people in life who I would be afraid of tangling with in an actual fight, he is very high on the list of people I would not want to fuck with. So Marlon is out of options. He is forced to turn to this movie's version of the Warrens. Like I mentioned very briefly, the Warrens were they were played by actors, but the real-life characters of the Warrens were the stars of The Conjuring. They are a semi-famous pair of married sham ghost hunters, and they are a sham. I don't care what people say. I do not believe in ghosts, and the Warrens are a fucking pair of shysters who take people's money and pretend that ghosts are real. Whether or not they believe it, I'm not here to guess. The fact of the matter is, they are shysters.
This is true.
And to make a long story short about this ghost hunting couple, very, very short, their entire bit as far as the movie is concerned is that the wife is a medium and the husband is like a very shitty exorcist who takes all the credit from the wife. I have no memory or care about the real life Warrens because they are sham artists and fuck that. Blah, blah, blah. The husband sham ghost hunter is played by some dude named Hayes MacArthur, who was in a bunch of weird movies I never heard of, including some weird meta movie within a movie that's about a bunch of murders, and I think Siegfried and Roy are in it, maybe. They're the only famous magician duo I know of, so it must be them. This dude, then the woman sham ghost hunter is played by an actress named Missy Pyle. I have no idea who Missy Pyle is. Never seen her before in my life.
No, she's been in a couple Bowles movies. She was in Soul Plane and...
She was in Soul Plane, that's right.
it starts with a D.
I've never seen her in anything. If I had to guess, if there was ever a movie made by... I don't know. Let's just say a fucking magician who was also an asshole who thought he was brilliant. I bet these two fucking chuckleheads would both star in that movie. I don't know. I just look at Missy Pyle and the words fuckball magician just scream out at me for some reason I'll never fathom or acknowledge. Anyway, these two are clearly very incompetent and fight constantly about which of the two of them is the more important ghost hunter. For some... Sorry. Can we...
Yeah, let's just keep it rolling if that's all right.
Yeah. Anyway,
if you need to take the call, you can. I can. Just
it's from my neighbor friends who are going to take the dog in after we're done with this. But I don't know why he's calling me now, so I can call him back. It's not important. Anyway, so yeah, the two are very incompetent. They fight about which one of them is more important. For some reason, they're giving a ghost lecture to a bunch of elementary school students. I don't know why. Marlon desperately needs help, so he talks to them, asking them to help him. They aren't interested until he mentions that he has a white family, when suddenly they are more than happy to help him. Isaac, do you get it? It's because he's black. That's the joke.
I have a white family.
You do. So do I.
Yeah.
So the sham ghost hunters explain to Jamie that the hauntings are real, and she finally believes it. They do mention that it's not the house that is haunted, but Marlon that's haunted, so the name of the fucking movie is a misnomer anyway, for Christ's sake. So the plan is to basically do a seance using Missy Pyle's medium powers to draw out the ghost or something. At this point, I kind of stopped paying attention to everything because I had to as a self-defense mechanism. It's like a seance that's going to lead to an exorcism. Somehow Fluffy and Cedric the Entertainer get involved, but truly, again, I stopped caring about plot details. Long story short, it's the middle of the night, and Pyle and MacArthur are preparing the seance. This begins with using a gas mask to smoke really high-quality weed, which I guess is, like, funny or something. The daughter is actively being possessed by a ghoul, the demon, now. The entire group of characters are giving near-constant commentary, often over top of one another, so this whole thing is going to happen for me very quickly because I'm moving past this super fast, because I need to die, Isaac. This is an attempted murder. There are so many race jokes back to back to back to back, Isaac. Why have you done this to me? Anyway, now it's going to be an exorcism. Everybody takes Molly out of Cedric the Entertainer's fake Bible. Cedric grabs a gun to pistol whip the daughter until she passes out, but after some spooky lights out stuff, instead uses the pistol to blow his own brains out. There's more race jokes, Kristen Stewart gets mentioned, and Cedric the Entertainer is clearly given some leeway here to vamp a bit, and it's okay. I mean, he seems like a reasonably funny dude, I guess. As far as dialogue or jokes in this movie goes, it's probably the best bit here, as he gets like 2 minutes before he kills himself to jabber on, which was kind of funny. But then it turns into how he didn't believe he didn't believe Chris Brown was at fault for beating up Rihanna. It's clearly a joke, but it's just a turnoff for me.
Yeah.
So, whatever. He blows his brains out. The exorcism continues, more of everybody talking over each other. And Pyles and MacArthur get their 2 minutes of very unfunny spotlight. Shit happens, the daughter gets upstairs. Ultimately, Marlon ends up being possessed by the demon instead of the daughter. I'm skipping so much random shit here and casual jokes, but it's for the best, believe me. This is painful enough as is. Anyway, they end up throwing a bunch of holy water on Marlon and then beat the ever-loving shit out of him, which is finally enough to expel the demon, which he vomits into the haunted box.
Wait, which box?
The daughter's vagina.
Okay, good.
So the demon is defeated, and the fake ghost hunters leave with the box and the doll and all the haunted shit. There's an exceptionally unfunny scene where MacArthur and Marlon talk about how they both want to fuck the doll, and how MacArthur is going to fuck her now, and Marlon doesn't want to let her go because of how good of lay she is. Isaac's social security number is 139320087. With all the hauntings over, Marlon and Jamie are sitting on the couch watching The Bachelorette and hear a spooky noise. Jamie assures Marlon that it's all over because her white senses, because he talks about his black senses, or she talks about her white senses, and then suddenly Keisha appears and snaps Jamie's neck.
Jesus.
Unspecified time passes. We cut to Ray Ray, Marlon's cousin from the first scene, and nothing else. He is searching for Marlon, who has disappeared off the map for a while. Ray Ray and his boys are searching through the house for sign of Marlon. Ray Ray is giving constant stream of jokes, which I'm sure somebody thinks is funny. That man's name is Michael Tiddes. Anyway, Ray Ray finds the corpse of Jamie still sitting on the couch. He goes upstairs to find that the daughter has been impaled on, like, a pike or something. She's just impaled in her bed, and it's never really explained. It's constant stream of consciousness for no apparent reason. They find Marlon in the basement, who is still alive, under a sheet clutching a crucifix. He says that because the sun is not there, he must have ran away or been taken by the demon or something. I wasn't paying attention. Marlon is terrified about Keisha and says he's waiting here under the sheet with the crucifix so that when she tries to kill him, he can get the jump on her. However, while he is explaining this, Keisha comes downstairs, everyone screams, and the movie ends.
Jesus.
Usually, I try to write some wrap-up thoughts where I actually try to give a fair overview of things I like and dislike. I, try to do a couple minutes of that sort of an unofficial master's thesis where I try to give a legitimate back and forth on what I thought of the whole thing. So here goes. This movie was a 0 out of 10. Thus concludes my review of A Haunted House 2.
Oh, man.
Isaac.
Wow.
Isaac, I understand. There is a deep, deep well of Marlon Wayans that it would be inappropriate for me to shut the tap off of. That being said, I staunchly refuse to watch any more movies that are in any way involve Michael Tiddes. According to his filmography, he's done a couple of different things. He has done 5 movies. I have now seen 3 of them.
You're a Michael Tiddes expert.
The other ones are Haunted House 1 and 50 Shades of Black. I will not watch those movies.
50 Shades
I
of
understand
Black
that so far you have never refused to watch anything, and I've made a couple. I cannot watch. It's not a matter of refusal. I cannot watch Mars Attacks. I will have to go into stronger therapy. There's too much tied up with that.
It's on Netflix now. I know. I keep looking at him. You're like,
I can't. Listen. It's not a matter of I just don't want to. I cannot.
That's actually a pretty good movie, though.
Yeah, people say that. There's literal fucking years of childhood trauma and terror tied to that movie with me. I cannot watch it again. It's not a matter of won't. It's a matter of I can't. I will need to take stronger anxiety medicine. So that is a staunch refusal, and I refuse to watch any more Michael Tiddes movies. I've had enough. No, you don't understand. I'm not doing it. And if you want to fucking tell me there's shit you're not watching, that's totally fine. I am not going to watch A Haunted House. I am not going to watch 50 Shades of Black. Okay? I've had enough. I've done 3 Michael... And I understand, there's a part of me that respects Marlon Wayans, and he's got a fucking big filmography. Oh, boy. Oh, it's long.
I do.
It's long.
I want to see or have you watch Little Man.
It's long.
I'm very curious about that one.
Long. That would be a crime to cut off that tap because there's a lot of untapped potential there. I cannot do anything else made by Michael Tiddes.
I just don't want to deprive you of titties.
It's fine. It's A-okay. I will not do this thing.
Oh,
that's it. Haunted House 2 is done. It's the worst thing I've seen for this show. It's 0 out of 10. There's nothing more to say. You've heard it all. There's nothing. It's garbage.
I'm blown away. Blown away. All right, well, God, geez, sorry for the coughing throughout this episode. I'm going to try to still survive a few more minutes. So yeah, this is episode 99, and next episode 100 is going to be...
I can't believe it.
We've come this far, and we can come even farther. I've been practicing doing my kegels. Oh, God. But we're going to take actually a little bit of a hiatus for a few weeks. We'll probably be coming back as we're gearing up for the Christmas season. And yeah, we're going to do episode 100 is going to be the little pony movie, but there's going to be some exciting stuff that happens surrounding episode 100. So
yeah,
we're taking a brief break.
All the stuff we've been sort of working on throughout the summer is going to come to fruition.
Yeah, it'll be our Christmas present to you, our beloved listeners.
And a pile of shit to ourselves.
And having said that, I'm also, not picking a movie for Larry at the moment, because we're probably going to be in Christmas season, so we might have to pick a Christmas movie for him, so that's still a little unclear, the timeline. But when we record episode 100, I'll give him his movie then.
And you'll see in the feed shortly after this, we're going to have another very quick little episode where we talk about Giants, so...
We love you. So do the podcast stuff. You heard it at the beginning. You know what to do. And we will be back before too long. We're not going away. Just briefly. Yeah. We'll be back in your feed, in your ears.
This is not goodbye.
In your box.
This is see you soon.
All right. Well, until next time, we love you.
Smell you in your haunted boxes later. Never again. Isaac. That's it. It's over. It's done.